Hare Krishna. Welcome, my friends. Today we continue reading from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's Madhurya Kadambini. We finished last time on the second verse, text 2, and so today we will continue from 3b, page 39. Bhakti Devi is self-manifesting. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Yanangyana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militang Yena Tasmai Shri Gurudev Namaha. Bhakti Devi is self-manifesting. Third verse. Tasya Bhagavat Evitad Rupaya Bhakter Api Sva Prakashata Siddhi Artham Eva Hetutva Nikpikshata Tatahi Yatho Bhaktir Atokshaye Ahaituki Pratihata Iti Adau Hetum Vinay Vir Bhavatiti Tatra Taha Tataiva Yadrichaya Mat Kathadao Mad Bhaktim Cha Yadrichaya Yadrichayv Vo Pachita Iti Adva Api Yadrichayati Asya Swachandeniti Artha Yadrichya Svareteti Abdhinat. So the Pavunavad, the translation. Bhakti is Bhagavan's own internal energy, Swarup Shakti. And like the omnipotent Lord, Bhakti also is self-manifesting. She manifests herself without relying on any additional cause. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.6 states, Yato Bhaktir Adokshaye Ahaituki Apratihata. Here, Bhagavad Bhakti to Adokshaja, Bhagavan, the Supreme Lord, who is beyond the approach of the material senses, is said to be causeless, ahaituki, and uninterrupted, apratihata. By this, it is evidence that she arises autonomously, without any particular cause. Elsewhere, in Srimad Bhagavatam 11.20.8, it is stated, Yadrichaya mat kathadao, only by the mercy of bhakti. My own internal energy yields taste for narrations about my pastimes and so forth. End quote. The words Mad Bhaktim Yad Yadrichaya, Srimad Bhagavatam 11.20.11, means, quote, the obtainment of bhakti to me is by my own sweet accord, Yadrichaya. Such statements about the awakening of bhakti being independent and without any particular cause also appear in numerous verses such as Yadrichaya Yaivo Pachita. In these statements from the Srimad Bhagavatam and so forth, the word Yadrichaya means acting only in accordance with one's own sweet will. Indeed, the meaning of Yadrichya found in the dictionary is Svarita, doing as one pleases, uncontrolled, independent, or svecha, of one's own accord. So now begins the Piyusya Varshani Vritti, or the purport, as it were. Bhagavan appears in his own accord within the Yadu dynasty as Sri Krishna, within the Raghu dynasty as Sri Ram, and so on. And again, only by his own volition does he manifest himself, or is otherwise perceived in the internal and external senses of the devotees. In the same way, bhakti, Bhagavan's self-manifesting internal energy, whose intrinsic nature is composed of eternality, cognizance, and bliss, Satchid Ananda, also exhibits herself or is otherwise experienced by her own volition in the internal and external senses of the devotees. She does not depend on any other cause. Like Sri Krishna, bhakti also is composed of Satchit Ananda. This is unequivocally described in Gopalatara Upanishad, Gopalatara Tapani Upanishad 2.95. Vijnana Ghana Ananda Ghana Satchid Anandaika Rasa Bhaktir Yoga Tishtati. This means that he who is condensed is the condensed form of realized knowledge and bliss. That very Sri Krishna manifests exclusively in Satchit Ananda Ras, that is, in Bhakti Yoga. If Bhakti were not composed of eternality, cognizance, and bliss, then it would never be possible for her to captivate Bhagavan. At this point, a question may be raised. If Bhakti, being quite the opposite of inert, has the symptom of being self-manifesting and is composed of eternality, cognizance, and bliss, then how is she to appear in the sadhaka's inner mind and senses? In answer, it can be said that after a piece of iron is heated intensely within a blazing fire, it obtains qualitative sameness with the fire. It takes on the fire's own reddish hue, and it acquires the potency to burn. In this same way, by her own potency, Bhakti, who is composed of Satchidananda, manifests even in the material senses of the sadhaka, and by destroying the mundanity of those senses, renders them as transcendent as she is. The Swarup of Parabrahman Bhagavan Sri Krishna is comprised of Sat, eternality, Chit, cognizance, and Ananda, bliss. Three energies manifest from these three aspects. Santini, the energy related to existence, manifests from Sat. Sangvit, the energy related to cognizance, manifests in Chit. And Hladini, the energy related to pure happiness, manifests from Ananda. Just as any one of these three aspects, namely Satchit or Ananda, cannot be separated from the other two, so also any one of these three energies, Sandini, Sangvit, or Hladini, cannot be disassociated from the other two. Moreover, whether the internal energy, Swarup Shakti, manifests Sandini, Sangvit, or Hladini, will simultaneously be present there. Parabrahman Bhagavan, the supreme spiritual entity, is self-manifesting. His spiritual energy, Chit Shakti, is also self-manifesting. And as such, the functions of his spiritual energy are also self-manifesting too. That which is self-manifesting reveals not only itself, but all else as well, just as the rising sun reveals both itself and the world. The special function of the spiritual energy, Chit Shakti, which is endowed with the attribute of being self-manifesting, and through which Parabrahma specifically reveals his own Swarup and transformations of his own Swarup Shakti, intrinsic energy, is called Vishuddha Sattva, pure existence. Although the three energies, Sandhini, Sangvit, and Hladini, coexist within Vishuddha Sattva, the degree to which each energy is expressed is not the same everywhere. Sometimes these three energies are manifest uniformly, and at other times only one is predominantly expressed. Hence, where there is predominance of Hladini Shakti, it is called Hladini Pradhan Shuddha Sattva, pure existence predominated by the energy related to pure bliss, or Hladini Pradhan Swarup Shakti, Bhagavan's intrinsic potency predominated by the energy related to pure bliss. In the revealed scriptures, it has been identified as highly confidential knowledge, Guhya Vidya. This secret knowledge has two functions. One is bhakti, and the other one is the initiator of bhakti. Through this confidential knowledge, prema bhakti manifests. Therefore, bhakti is intrinsically the special function of the Swarup Shakti, predominated by Hladini, and is self-manifesting spiritual entity. She is not dependent on any other cause for her appearance. In numerous places, Srimad Bhagavatam explains that bhakti manifests without cause or of her own accord. Savai pungsham paro dharmo yato bhakti radhokshaye ahayutuki apratidhata yayatma suprashidati. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.6. Only unconditional devotion to the lotus feet of Bhagavan, who is adhokshaya, imperceptible, has been described as the supreme dharma of mankind. Such devotion is unconditional. It arises without any cause, and its progress is unimpeded by any material condition. Also, yadrishchaya mat kathadao jata shradas tu yapunam nanirvino nati shakto bhakti yogo swasiddhi da. Srimad Bhagavatam 11.20.8. He who is neither overly renounced nor exceedingly attached to this world, and in whom, by the mercy of my inherently autonomous bhakti, faith has awakened in the narrations of my pastimes and so forth, is qualified for bhakti yoga and thus attains perfection through it. Asmil loke vartamana swadharmasto nagaha suchihi jnanam vishudam apnopti mad bhaktim yo va yadrichchaya. Srimad Bhagavatam 11.20.11. The persons who remains firmly established in the observance of his own dharma, being sinless, even while remaining within his material body, becomes pure. Thereafter, knowledge of Vishuddha Tattva, that is, knowledge of Bhagavat Tattva and his own Swarup, inherent nature, as my servant, awakens in him, and he obtains bhakti to me, which is independent and causeless. Thus, in these verses and others like Yadrichchaya Vai Vopachita, the word Yadrichchaya, Yadrichcha, signifies of her own accord, Svecha. In other words, bhakti arises of her own independent sweet will. Thus, bhakti has been called causeless, Haituki. She is self-manifesting, meaning she emerges of her own volition. It has been said in Srila Jiva Goswami's Priti Sandarbha, Anucheda 65. Hladini. Okay, so I'll just read the text. The purport is that only bhakti brings the devotee near to Bhagavan. Only bhakti grants direct darshan of Bhagavan. And only bhakti controls Bhagavan. That is why bhakti is the principal sadhana to attain Bhagavan. In this connection, it is worth deliberating upon the symptom of that bhakti, and by her own bliss makes Bhagavan intoxicated. It is being explained here that one cannot consider bhakti to be the mundane bliss intrinsic to the material mode of goodness, as held by Sankhya-vadis. Footnote 6. Sankhya-vadis adhere to the doctrine of elemental enumeration, or Sankhya, in which material nature is the cause of the bliss of the Supreme Person. Wow, I didn't know that. Shruti also establishes this conclusion. Since Bhagavan is complete in himself and thus self-content, he never becomes attracted by the modes of material nature. Neither can bhakti be described as Bhagavat Sarupananda, the bliss inherent in Bhagavan's very form, which is the doctrine of the impersonalist monists, Nirvisheshvadis, who's experienced the bliss of impersonal Brahma. If that were so, then it would not be possible to establish the greatness of bhakti over that bliss. Bhagavan desires the bliss of bhakti more than he desires the bliss of inherent within himself. That's an interesting statement. Bhakti is also not the bliss inherent in the living entity's constitutional nature, Jiva Swarupananda, since that bliss is extremely minute, and consequently Bhagavan cannot become overpowered by it. It is said in the Vishnu Purana 1.12.69, Ladini Sandini Sangvit, Tvai Eka Swara Sangstitao, Lada Tapa Kari Mishra, Tvai Na Gauna Varjite. O Bhagavan, you are the shelter of everything. Three energies intrinsic to your Swarup, Hladini, Sandhini, and Sangvit, exist permanently and resplendently within you. The omnipotent Lord, you are devoid of the material modes of nature. Neither mundane joy, sattvika, nor misery, tamasika, nor mixtures thereof, rajasika, are present in you. According to the evidence from the Vishnu Purana, the only bliss that remains after mundane bliss in the mode of goodness, the bliss inherent in Bhagavan's own Swarup, and the inherent bliss of the living entity, is the bliss arising from Bhagavan's intrinsic potency, Swarup Shakti Ananda, named Hladini. This is because it is only through the Hladini Shakti that Bhagavan experiences his own intrinsic bliss in extraordinary manner. That is, by the ecstasy of his energy, he relishes a special delight. It is through this Shakti that Bhagavan bestows bliss onto the bhaktas. Now, a doubt may arise. Since that Hladini Shakti permanently exists within Bhagavan, how can he possibly be overwhelmed by his own Shakti? To remove this confusion, the following line of reasoning is to be considered. By the application of our Tarpati Praman, which reconciles any apparent contradictions by making an inference from circumstances, the illogical becomes logical. Accordingly, it is certainly cogent that an experience that increases Bhagavan's ananda should have some other cause. When that which causes something to happen is absent, yet the event still occurs, it is to be inferred that there must be another cause at work. This is known as Arthapati Praman. For example, Devadat does not eat during the day, yet he is well built. Given that he is not eating during the day, it is deduced through Arthapati Praman that he must necessarily be eating at night. In this way, the absurd becomes logical. Applying the same reasoning, although it is impossible for the Hladini, the bliss arising from his intrinsic potency, to give more bliss to Bhagavan than the bliss of existing in his own form, he nonetheless does receive more bliss from her. This seeming contradiction can, however, be resolved by applying Arthapati Praman. Here it is noted that only Hladini Shakti can give bliss to Bhagavan. No one else can. Bhagavan is actually experiencing a bliss that is impossible for him to experience through Hladini. That is, he experiences a bliss he necessarily cannot get from her. Therefore, it is certainly logical that there must be some other cause of his experiencing this Ananda. This conclusion is reached in much the same way as it was deduced that Devata eats at night. Indeed, it is Hladini in a different form that bestows this profuse Ananda upon Bhagavan. This is understood through Arthapati Praman. In conclusion, it is none other than the abundant, all-blissful, eternal function of that Hladini, which is impelled in the heart of the bhaktas, that is designated as Bhagavat Priti, or love of Bhagavan. Thus, when the Swarup Shakti, Hladini, with the assistance of Swarup Shakti, the Bhakta, attains a special state that reaches the pinnacle of Ananda, it is known as the abundant, all-blissful, eternal function of Hladini. Experiencing that affection in the heart of the devotees, Bhagavan reciprocates accordingly by decoding the object of that affection. As stated previously, Bhakti is Bhagavan's Swarup Shakti. Bhagavan's Swarup is comprised of Sat, Chit, and Ananda. Consequently, his spiritual energy has three functions: Sandhini, Sangvit, and Hladini. The energy related to existence, Sata, is called Sandhini. Through it, Bhagavan maintains the existence of himself and others. The energy related to knowledge, Gyan, is called Sangvit. Through it, Bhagavan knows himself and makes himself known to others. The energy related to bliss, Ananda, is Hladini. Through it, Bhagavan personally experiences Ananda and grants Ananda to others as well. So I'll end it a little short here. That was verse 3b, and we can reflect a little bit on what was learned here, that there's the differentiation between Satchit Ananda and the Sangvit, Hladini, and Sandhini, Sangvit, and Hladini, yes. So that is, those are the energies of those three ontological aspects. And so it's very interesting to also note that Sankhya has a doctrine of elemental enumeration, where nature is the cause of the bliss of the Supreme Person, which is contrary to the Hladini conception, where it's only Bhagavan's internal energy that gives him bliss, because he's not ever in contact with three modes. So that's an interesting difference between Sankhya and I guess what would be Vedanta in the different philosophies of the six different darshans. So yeah, basically it's been made very clear that Bhakti is independent, there's no cause, and she's just as independent as Bhagavan, as the personality, as the Swarup of the Godhead. And so here Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur makes that more and more clear. And in fact, in the next verse, bhakti is not caused by any type of pious act. It reinforces that idea that bhakti is independent and she has no cause, and thus it's almost as if Bhagavan is controlled by this internal potency. So very interesting. We'll end it here. Thank you for listening and watching, and hope to catch you in the next one. Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubheva cha patitanang pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah.